I grew up in a small town where life moved slowly and everyone knew everyone. My parents ran a modest hardware store that doubled as the heart of the community. My father taught me the value of hard work, while my mother showed me the importance of kindness, even when life wasn't easy. Despite their differences, they worked together seamlessly, a partnership I always hoped to emulate. In high school, I was the quiet kid, more comfortable with books than with crowds. My first love was Emily, a girl with an infectious laugh and a passion for painting. We dated through senior year, dreaming of a future that didn't pan out. She moved away for art school and I stayed, feeling the weight of responsibility to help my parents. College was a blur of classes and part-time jobs. It was there I met Lila, an ambitious journalism student with big dreams and a sharp wit. She was magnetic, the kind of person who made you believe anything was possible. We fell hard and fast, marrying right after graduation. Those early years were blissful, filled with late-night talks about the future and weekend getaways that felt like stolen treasures. But over time, the cracks began to show. My demanding job as a traveling technician left me drained, while Lila's career blossomed, demanding more of her time and energy. The love we once shared was overshadowed by resentment and unmet expectations. By the time she asked for a divorce, I wasn't even sure who we were anymore. Strangers tied together by memories. I sank into the recliner, watching as my wife of 6 years walked out the door, knowing she would soon be my ex-wife. My emotions felt tangled and distant, like they belonged to someone else. That morning, she'd bluntly announced her decision to leave, leaving me in a daze. Earlier in the day, she'd requested I return home by 6, saying we needed to talk. When I arrived, the absence of dinner hinted at something amiss. What followed was a conversation that unraveled the life we had built. Lila met me with a tense expression, her words cutting straight to the heart of the matter. She wanted a divorce. "Hi," she said. "Sit down. We need to talk." She got straight to the point. "When we got married, I thought we'd have a good life. But the last 4 years have shown me that staying married isn't what I want. You're never home, and when you are, you're too tired to care about me." I tried to explain. "I work long hours to pay the bills. You work too, but it's not enough. If you'd help more, I'd ask my boss to keep me in town. That's not the only problem. You don't even take care of the backyard you insisted on," she snapped. "You could hire someone, and then we could go out more," I suggested. "With what money?" she snapped, her frustration cutting through the air. "It's not getting better, Oliver. I'm tired of waiting. I want excitement, and you're not giving me that. I'm done." I met her gaze, trying to process her words. "So, a divorce?" I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. "Yes," she replied firmly. 6 months and we'll both be free." "Who's paying for it?" I questioned. "I will," she answered without hesitation. "That's fair," I said, nodding. "Do it." She grabbed her coat and paused at the door as if to say something. Then she left. I sat there thinking about what I'd miss. She was demanding and self-centered, but she was still something to come home to. Did I love her? I wasn't sure anymore. Not once had either of us said the word love during that conversation. That was sad. Later, I drove to Miles's bar. It had been a couple of weeks since I'd been there. Lila's decision stung, but I knew I'd get over it. At the bar, I bought a $5 scratch ticket instead of my usual singles. Feeling bold, I also bought tickets for the state lottery and Powerball. "Cheap fool," Miles teased. "You'll never win big with those scratch-offs. Go for the big money." "Let the machine pick," I said. "It's smarter than me anyway." I grabbed some peanuts and asked the waitress to move my beer to a booth. Stupid rule. I couldn't carry it myself. Soon, Elliot and Anna Reed joined me. We talked, I had another beer, and then hunger set in. I left for a steakhouse, ordered the smallest steak, and had another beer with my meal. No dessert, just one last drink. I was pushing my limits, so I'd need to drive carefully. Home, I thought bitterly. It wasn't a home anymore, just an empty house. Unless Lila changed her mind, though she left like she wasn't coming back. Maybe she went to her sister's. Brenda wouldn't have treated me like Lila did. Not that it mattered. I was getting maudlin. Time to go home and sleep. I didn't stop moving except for a quick bathroom break. Once home, I began undressing, slipping the lottery tickets into my wallet. As I sat on the edge of the bed, I pulled out the scratch ticket. Scratching it off, I matched 3 cows, $10,000. Another cow brought it to $15,000. Shaking with excitement, I revealed the final emblem, $25,000. I laughed out loud. "Take that, Lila. Pay for your own divorce." Still grinning, I locked the bedroom door and went to bed. If Lila came back, she could sleep in the spare room. That ticket would keep me company tonight. By morning, the empty house felt depressing until I remembered the ticket. Deciding to keep it safe, I waited for the bank to open and rented a safe deposit box. I put the ticket inside, along with the numbers for the state lottery and Powerball. I copied the numbers onto a scrap of paper from my wallet. Would this money change my life? Probably not right away. At work, I was preparing for my 2 p.m. flight. Back home at noon to shower and shave, I noticed Lila still hadn't returned. Concerned, I called her sister Brenda. "She's here," Brenda said curtly. "Talk some sense into her." Lila took the phone. Her voice was cold. "What do you want, Oliver? We're done." "You didn't say you were leaving this soon," I replied, trying to keep my tone even. "Well, I have," she said flatly. "I won't be back." "When are you coming for your stuff?" I pressed. "Tomorrow? The weekend?" "Are you asking for the house, too? There's still a big mortgage." "You can keep it if you handle the payments," she said without hesitation. "I just need a list of assets for my lawyer. I don't care about much. I just want to move on." "Fine," I said with a sigh. "Send the papers and I'll sign. But I think you're making a mistake. We could have worked this out." "No, Oliver," she said firmly. "I fell out of love. I need to start over." "Is there someone else?" I asked, the question escaping before I could stop it. "No," she said after a pause. "But there might be before this is over. Please don't make this harder." I swallowed hard. "Okay, Lila, if this is what you want, I won't stand in your way. Take care." I packed my bag and headed to the airport. I'd be gone until Wednesday, giving her time to clear out. Oddly, I trusted her to only take what was hers. We might not love each other anymore, but there was still a shred of respect. Saturday morning, while repairing a copier, I remembered the state lottery drawing had been the night before. Over lunch, I checked the results online. No winners. Maybe next time. I worked until evening, grabbed dinner, and stopped at a bar for a beer. Too tired to wait for the Powerball drawing, I went to bed. Sunday morning, I serviced another machine and checked the Powerball results during lunch. Nothing again. Back home Wednesday morning, I dropped by the office briefly, then returned to the house. Lila had taken a few things. The kitchen table, but not the stools. The space felt emptier, but manageable. On the counter, I found 2 envelopes. One held divorce papers, the other listed everything she'd taken. I was annoyed to see she'd cleared out our entire bedroom. The king-size bed, dressers, nightstands, and even the lamps. Upstairs, the room was bare. It stung a little, but at least now I knew what I was dealing with. In the guest room, I found my clothes neatly organized, shirts in the dresser, suits in the closet. On the nightstand was a note from Lila. "Oliver, I hope this arrangement works. I've moved into an apartment and didn't want to spend much on furniture. You might want a smaller bed now that you're alone. Honestly, I hope to find someone who'll share mine and actually be there every night. The loneliness when you were away got to be too much. I know I didn't help with expenses, and maybe that wasn't fair. But I needed to save for this moment. If you think it's worth suing me, go ahead. I stopped touching our accounts 3 days before I told you I was leaving. That seemed fair. Brenda thinks I'm making a mistake, but she has Jim and their kids to keep her grounded. We never had that. I could say I still love you, but I don't think I do. I'm fond of you, though. Lila." I went downstairs to the spotless kitchen. The refrigerator was empty but cleaned out. The divorce papers were on the counter, just as she'd described, with a stamped envelope for my reply. I signed them and slipped them into the envelope. Through the window, I saw the lawn needed mowing, the flower beds needed weeding, and the sprinklers hadn't been turned on. Lila had always wanted the house to look perfect, but most of the upkeep had fallen on me. One day, I'd tear out those flower beds and replace them with grass. A bigger mower would make quick work of it. But not today. That evening, I went out for dinner. Watching other diners, I saw couples at different stages of love or conflict, families managing bratty or well-behaved kids. I wondered what kind of parents Lila and I might have been if we'd started a family. Afterward, I stopped by Miles's for a beer and bought some scratch tickets along with numbers for the lottery and Powerball. "Suckers born every minute," Miles teased. "Maybe," I said, "but you still sell them." We sat down to talk, and I filled Miles in on the divorce. He'd known me since my teenage years, though Lila had never quite warmed to him. "So what's next?" Miles asked, leaning forward. "No plans yet," I admitted. "I've got some work to do on the house, but selling it might be smarter. With the mortgage, though, I wouldn't get much out of it." "You need a roommate, someone to share the expenses," he suggested. I don't know if I could trust someone, I said with a bitter laugh. I trusted Lila, and look where that got me. Even now, though, I know she's being fair. She's not trying to screw me over. Miles studied me for a moment. Do you still love her? I shook my head. Not really. It's more of an inconvenience than anything else. More customers came in, and our conversation ended. I headed home to bed. The next morning, I mowed the lawn, but left the flower beds alone. The neighbors didn't seem to know Lila was gone. A few stopped to chat, but no one mentioned her. Later, I returned to Miles's for another Powerball ticket. Still no winners, he said. The prize is getting serious. Same numbers, one scratch ticket, I said. Scratching it, I won $10. Are you ahead on these tickets? Miles asked, smirking. I am, actually, I replied. But I'm waiting until the divorce is final before I let anyone know how far ahead I am. Lila wouldn't cause trouble, but why risk it? Friday and Saturday came and went with no lottery wins. By Sunday, I replaced my old tickets with new ones for the upcoming drawings. Dust was starting to collect in the house, and it smelled stale. Could I live with it? For now, I'd have to. That evening, I made sure no food would spoil while I was away. Around 8, Brenda called. How's it going, Oliver? She asked. Not bad, I replied. A bit more work around here, but I'm managing. How's Lila adjusting? She's doing well, Brenda said. Goes out with coworkers a lot and likes her apartment, though expenses are higher than she expected. I think she went on a date, nothing serious, but she's still waking up alone, which, let's be honest, seemed to be her biggest complaint when you were around. That'll change eventually, I said, trying to keep my tone neutral. I just hope she doesn't settle for less than she deserves. Typical Oliver, Brenda teased with a laugh. Too nice for your own good. Thanks, Brenda. Love you too, I said with a chuckle. Say hi to Jim for me. Maybe he can sneak out for a beer sometime. Come by and see the kids. They miss you, she said warmly. And don't forget, bread and beer for chop suey on Thursday. Deal, I said with a laugh. Monday morning, I flew out for work. By Tuesday, the state lottery had been won, not by me. The Powerball jackpot had grown to over $150 million. Miles would be happy to keep selling me tickets regardless. Thursday evening, I joined Brenda's family for dinner. Lila was there too, and we exchanged polite updates about our lives. Her kids were thrilled to see me and made me promise to visit more often. As I was leaving, Lila walked me to my car. How are you holding up? She asked. I know leaving was a shock. It was, I admitted, but I get it. If what you felt wasn't enough to wait for me to be home more, then this was the right call. I miss you, but mostly for the day-to-day things like doing dishes together or the little closeness we shared. Those things can be replaced in time. Happiness comes and goes. I'm just waiting to see what's next. She smiled faintly. Thanks, Oliver. I was afraid I'd hurt you too much. I even considered inviting you over if I had. That's unnecessary, I said. I'll be fine. Good, she replied. I'm glad we talked. I think we can both move forward more comfortably now. I kissed her cheek, got in my car, and didn't look back. Later, while at Miles's place, I bought tickets for the next lottery and Powerball drawings, then prepared for another day of yard work. The next morning, Miles called. Oliver, you said you needed a housekeeper. I found one. She'll be there tomorrow night, if you're okay with it. Miles, I'm managing fine, I said, brushing off the suggestion. But I'll think about it. She's had bad luck, Miles continued. She's a war widow with 2 kids and is being evicted next week. She needs a break. How old is she? I asked, curious despite myself. 25, he replied. She used to be so cheerful, but life's been hard. Her husband died in the service, and her parents are barely scraping by to help her. She just needs a chance. I sighed, feeling the weight of the situation. Why is this my responsibility? Because it's a win-win, Oliver, Miles said confidently. Trust me. Fine, I relented. I'll talk to her. What's her name? Eva Brown. She'll be there at 6. Maybe take her to dinner, Miles suggested. Don't push it, I replied with a groan. I returned to my quiet, empty house, pushing thoughts of the woman I was supposed to meet to the back of my mind. I imagined her as a petite, slightly curvy woman, maybe 5'3". I arrived at Miles's bar early for our meeting. A few people came and went, but none matched the description. Then a tall woman, almost my height at 5'11", entered. Slim and graceful, she moved with an elegance that caught my attention. She spoke to the bartender, her voice smooth and pleasant. I noticed her glance my way a few times before our eyes met. She smiled faintly, acknowledging me. When's Miles supposed to be here? She asked the bartender. He said he'd introduce me to someone. Miles is running late, the bartender replied. Do you know their name? Oliver Grant, she said. Hearing this, I got up and approached her. Eva Brown? I asked. I'm Oliver. Let's grab a booth. She nodded politely. Sure, I gestured to the bartender. Bring my beer over and refill her glass. Then I led Eva to a booth. So, I began. Knowing Miles, I bet his description of me was far from accurate. Eva laughed lightly. He said you were the most handsome man I'd ever meet, that your wife left you and you were heartbroken. He thought my kids and I could save you from despair. Classic Miles, I chuckled. Here's the truth. My wife did leave me, but I'm far from devastated. I'm just looking for someone to help with housekeeping. If you're in a tough spot, a live-in arrangement could work, but most of your compensation would be the living situation itself. And what did Miles tell you about me? I asked. He said you were cute, recently single, and needed help around the house. He also mentioned I'm a war widow with 2 kids and about to be evicted. Sounds exaggerated, I said. It is, she admitted with a wry smile. I lost my husband, but I'm not destitute. I have insurance money. The city is tearing down my building for luxury apartments, so yes, I do need a place. My kids are 7 and 6, well-behaved and smart. A stable home would be great, but I'm not desperate. The city promised to relocate us. I heard you tell the bartender you couldn't stay long because of your kids, I said. That's right, Eva replied. I promised them McDonald's tonight. It's a treat since I prefer cooking at home. I'm a pretty good cook. She caught me glancing at her chest and smiled knowingly. I don't have much of a figure, she said without embarrassment. I eat a lot, but I have a high metabolism. Cooking is just my way of indulging my appetite. Let's go to McDonald's then, I suggested. I haven't eaten yet, and I'd like to meet the kids. After dinner, I took Eva and her kids to my house. She admired the flower beds, even stopping to pull a weed as we walked around. I explained my travel schedule, usually 3 days a week, with notice in advance. Inside, I showed her the bedrooms. She said, if we move in, I'll need a full bed and a twin in the master bedroom. I don't want my daughter sharing my bed, even if we share a room. Logan can take the spare room. She hesitated, so I addressed the unspoken question. You're wondering if I'd expect Zex? She nodded. I'm not interested in a physical relationship right now, I said. I've always respected boundaries, and I will here too. If this arrangement works, we need to be clear up front. Okay, she said. So I handle everything except closeness, and you pay for everything, like with Lila? Pretty much, I replied. I'll leave $500 for incidentals and get you a credit card by Thursday. If you use your own money, I'll reimburse you. This feels like I'm getting the better deal, she said. But I'll cover half the food. The kids eat, and you're not always here. Fair enough, I agreed. She smirked. You're paying and not even getting any affection? All I need is respect, I said. I didn't get much affection in my marriage anyway. Let's change the subject, she said. This is outside my comfort zone. Sure, I said. I'll take you home. Show me your beds in Tinkerbell to see if they're suitable or if we need new ones. Tinkerbell is Teresa's nickname, Eva explained, smiling. The name fit perfectly. Her daughter had an undeniable charm her mother lacked, though Eva's confidence was appealing in its own way. Later, I went to the bar around 10:30. Miles, give me a scratch ticket, I said. Let's see if Eva Brown brings me luck. When he handed it over, I gave it back. You scratch it. I bet you another ticket it's a winner. It was a $50 win. Begrudgingly, Miles bought another ticket to honor the bet. That one was a dud. Oliver, you're a lucky prick, he said, laughing. Then he asked, is Eva working for you? I dodged. Miles, you told plenty of lies about me and about her. We compared notes. Well, did she move in or not? Miles, you've got a customer, I said, pointing toward the bar. I waved and walked out before the state lottery drawing. I didn't stop by Saturday. On Sunday, I came in early to buy tickets for the state lottery and Powerball. Miles wasn't there, so he still didn't know if Eva had decided to move in. Monday morning, I left for a short trip, driving instead of flying, and returned Wednesday evening. Pulling into the driveway, I noticed an old Camry. Eva must be here. Inside, the smell of pot roast greeted me. Eva was taking a Dutch oven off the stove. Hi, she said. Go wash up and grab us a beer. I called Miles to find out what you drink. Genesee Light. Tried it myself. Not bad, though sweet. The table was set with floral dishes I didn't recognize. Where did these come from? I asked. Wedding gift, she said quietly. Barely used them. My husband's gone, and the meaning went with him. Time to move on. These will be our everyday dishes now. Her steady voice carried a hint of emotion. They're beautiful, I said, admiring the arrangement. And the flowers? From the backyard, she replied with a small smile. Thought they'd brighten the table. They do, I said, glancing around. Something smells amazing. Pot roast with onions, carrots, and potatoes, she said. Sit tight, I'll grab the kids. And don't start without us. We always say grace before dinner. I like that, I said, nodding. The kids were shy but polite as they joined us. As I looked around, something clicked. Wait, this table wasn't here Monday. Ava smiled. We moved in this week. Beds are set up. Tonight's our first night here. Good, I said. I wondered when you'd make the move. Toward the end of dinner, Logan spoke up. You have a huge TV. It is, I said. I used to have a smaller one in the bedroom, but my wife took it when we split. You have a wife? Tinkerbell asked innocently. Therese, Eva said, embarrassed. That's not our business. It's okay, I said. Her name's Lila. We grew apart and decided to separate. She wanted me home every night, but my work made that hard. You might meet her someday. Is she pretty? Tinkerbell asked. She is, I said. There's an album under the TV if you want to see her pictures. The kids excitedly retrieved the album, flipping through photos of Lila. Tinkerbell glanced between the pictures and her mom, clearly noticing the contrast. Who's this with the kids? She asked, pointing to another photo. My sister-in-law Brenda and her family. They visit often, so you'll have playmates, I explained. Brenda's a great cook, like your mom. Lila wasn't much into cooking. Tonight's meal was one of the best I've ever had. After dinner, I helped Eva clear the table while the kids watched TV. As we worked, she glanced over at me. That was the nicest thing you could have said. Was your wife really that bad a cook? She wasn't bad, I said with a chuckle. But she didn't enjoy it, so we ate out a lot. I wasn't lying. This was incredible. Thank you, she said softly, a faint smile touching her lips. It's good to feel like I'm good at something. Kids shouldn't think someone else is prettier or better than their mom. I can't say Lila wasn't pretty, I admitted. But beauty isn't everything. Eva looked at me curiously. Do you really believe that? I do, I said, nodding. I dated a girl in high school who wasn't conventionally attractive, but she was the kindest, smartest person I knew. Her husband's lucky. He got a gem. Eva smiled. I'm learning new things about you. Let's sit on the patio, I suggested. Later, tired from travel, I watched a crime show but fell asleep halfway through. Heading to bed, I relished the feel of fresh sheets for the first time in weeks. Thursday morning, I took Eva and the kids downtown. At the bank, I added her name to my credit card, which had an $11,000 limit. I always paid off my balance and handled money carefully. New cards were issued in both our names, set to arrive soon. Outside, Eva looked at me, surprised. Why did you do that? I expected a $700 limit, not this. What happens if the cellar floods, the furnace breaks, or you need to stay in a motel while I'm away? I replied. This is my house, and I'm responsible for everything in it, including you and the kids. End of discussion. Softening my tone, I added, that said, I hope we don't need the full limit because funds are tight until my upcoming raise. The card gives me flexibility, though, so use it if necessary. Was your wife's name on your card? She asked. No, I said. She had her own for emergencies, but rarely used it. I paid all the bills anyway, which made things simpler when she left. Ava didn't respond, but gave me a small smile that spoke volumes. I had to work that afternoon, but tomorrow would be a full day off. By next week, I expected all of us, Eva, Logan, Tinkerbell, and me, to feel fully settled. Tomorrow evening, I'd like to meet your parents, I told Eva, and maybe leave the kids with them for a bit. I want to let Miles know we're officially living together. Sure, Eva said. My parents will want to know how you're treating their grandkids. Guess I'll have to behave then, I said with a grin. You've already made a good impression, she replied. Kids are trusting, and so am I. You'd have to work hard to lose that. Later, we stopped by Miles's bar. He greeted us with mock frustration. Christ, Oliver, I never see you anymore. What can I get you? A beer for me, I said, and a red wine spritzer for Eva. Half wine, half ginger ale. Eva smiled. Okay, I trust you're not trying to get me drunk. Yet. Miles smirked. Give him time. I scratched a lottery ticket on a whim and won $5, enough to cover our drinks. Miles groaned dramatically. He's gonna break me. Afterward, we visited Eva's parents, a warm couple in their 50s. Her dad was tall and slim like Eva, while her mom was short and curvy. I accidentally stared at her mom's chest and she laughed. "Don't feel bad. They've always been a distraction," she joked. "Not that my husband complains." "Mom, stop," Eva groaned. "I'd rather have my figure than your backaches." We left soon after, as the kids were getting tired. Back home, I carried Logan to bed while Eva tucked in Tinkerbell. Once they were asleep, I settled in to watch a country music show featuring Dolly Parton. Eva walked in, catching me staring. "You're drooling," she teased. "What is it with men and bosoms? Mine worked fine for nursing, thank you very much." Later, she returned, smiling. "Mom's wondering how I'm going to get you to marry me." She even joked that she wished she were single. I laughed. "What about your dad?" "He thinks you're a good guy, but don't let it go to your head. I'm just your housekeeper." "You're more than that," I said. "You've been here a week, and I already feel more comfortable than I have in years." "I hope this stays just the way it is." Eva gave me a strange look, but said nothing. Was she unsure of where this was going, or was she hoping for more? I couldn't tell. For the first part of the week, I was home each evening. Dinner was ready when I arrived, and the kids were over the moon about the new swing set and jungle gym in the backyard. They dragged me outside, insisting I watch them play. The yard looked immaculate, the lawn freshly mowed, and the flower beds neat and vibrant. "You've done a lot," I remarked, impressed. "I have the time," Eva replied with a shrug. "Work's slow right now." "You freelance, right?" I asked. "Yes," she said. "I edit articles for magazines. It's all remote and work comes in waves. Not scrambling for rent has been a huge relief." "Will you be home Friday evening?" she asked after a pause. "Yes, why?" I replied. "I have a dinner date," she said, almost hesitantly. "And I was hoping you could watch the kids. I should be back by 11. A sharp pang of jealousy hit me, but I kept my tone light. "Of course, I'll order pizza, and we'll have a party." "You don't mind?" she asked, her tone soft. "Not at all," I said, forcing a smile. That night, I slept poorly and blamed my bad mood at breakfast on a tough repair job. On Friday, I came home early to find Eva dressed to impress. Black dress, styled hair, and a noticeable enhancement to her chest. She looked stunning. "You look great," I said. "I know," she replied with a grin. "I feel like a queen. Maybe I'll do this more often." As the pizza arrived, so did her date, a man about 10 years older with a polished look and a Mercedes parked outside. Eva seemed flustered as she introduced him. "Oliver, this is Richard Tromley, my boss. He's been very kind to me and occasionally asks me out." "Oliver Grant," I said, shaking his hand. Eva turned to me. "The kids need to be in bed on time. I might be late, so don't wait up. Bye." As she left, a wave of jealousy and hurt hit me. Unexpected and unwelcome. Not even Lila's outings had made me feel this way. I reminded myself that Eva was just my housekeeper, nothing more. To distract myself, I called Brenda. "Hey, I installed some swings in the backyard. Bring Simon and Pearl over to try them out." "Not tonight," she replied. "What's new with you?" "Not much," I said. "The kids belong to my housekeeper. She's out on a date, and I'm babysitting." "Why aren't you dating your housekeeper?" Brenda asked. "Lila's dating, isn't she?" "Not a chance," I said firmly. "I wouldn't mix business with personal life." "You've always wanted kids, though," she pointed out. "These two are great," I admitted. "Polite, well-mannered, and so easy to get along with. But I've got to go. It's bath time." "They sleep at your house?" Brenda asked, sounding surprised. "Eva and Tinkerbell share my room. Logan's in the spare and I'm in the guest room," I explained. "You're holding back," she said with a laugh. "I need to meet this woman. Fire up the grill tomorrow and we'll come over." "Sure, come by at 3, I said, laughing. Later, I watched Shrek with the kids before tucking them in. As I leaned down to kiss Tinkerbell goodnight, she wrapped her arms around me. "Oliver, my friend says her daddy kisses her goodnight. Mommy kisses me, but she says nobody kisses her. I think she'd like it if you kissed her too." I smiled. "Maybe, sweetheart. Sleep tight." I went downstairs to wait for Eva, but by midnight I gave up and went to bed. When she finally came in at 1:30, I stayed in my room, my thoughts racing. Was she making out with him? Did they go to a motel? It wasn't my business, but it gnawed at me anyway. Saturday morning, I grabbed breakfast at IHOP and went to the office, even though it was the weekend. At 10 a.m., I called home. "Where are you?" Eva asked. "I wanted to tell you about last night. It was wonderful." "Sorry, had work to do," I replied. "How about lunch? My sister-in-law and her family are coming over for a cookout tonight. I'm picking up steaks." "You'll need salads," Eva said. We have some ingredients, but grab more beer and 3 quarts of strawberries from the farmer's market. I'll make shortcake. There was a pause. Is she as pretty as your wife? Check the photo album, I said. There are pictures of her with Jim and the kids at the beach. I haven't looked past the photos of your wife, Eva admitted. When I got home, Eva had tomato soup and a cucumber sandwich waiting for me. I hoped you'd still be awake when I got home, she said. The meeting went late, but it was amazing. The authors I've been editing for all thanked me, and I even got an award for being the most dedicated part-time editor. We had a 5-course meal, shared funny stories, and danced until midnight. I should have called, but I knew you and the kids were fine. Relief and embarrassment washed over me. You didn't say it was a meeting. I thought it was a date with your boss. Eva frowned. You thought that? Why? All you said was a date, I explained. Then you dressed up, left with a guy in a nice car, and said you'd be home by 11, but you didn't get back until 1:30. Next time, give me more details so I don't worry. Her expression softened. I'm sorry, she said gently. I was so excited I didn't think to explain. A small smile crept onto her face. You were worried about me? No, I muttered, looking away. You're a grown woman. I can take care of myself, she said, her voice light, but it's sweet that you cared. To change the subject, I flipped through some photos of Brenda. She's gorgeous, I said casually, then added, but not as gorgeous as you looked last night. Eva's smile widened. I'll marinate the steaks while you clean the grill, she said, turning toward the counter. As we worked together in the kitchen, she teased, Tinkerbell told me you kissed her goodnight. She thought it was wonderful. I worried you might think it was inappropriate, I admitted. Not at all, Eva said warmly. I'd have been disappointed if you hadn't. She's missed having a father around, and I see how you care for Logan, too. She paused, her eyes twinkling. I think I owe Miles a kiss for introducing us. I thought to myself, what about kissing me? That afternoon, Brenda and Eva hit it off, and soon I was seeing more of Simon and Pearl at the house. Sometimes it was just Eva greeting me when I got home. One day I bumped into Lila at the grocery store. We ended up chatting for over an hour. Oliver, she said eventually, her tone candid, I moved out almost 3 months ago and I'm happy. I've met someone and we're thinking about moving in together. Is that going to bother you? Not at all, I replied with a shrug. My life's pretty settled. You're probably getting more Zex than I am, but other than that, I'm good. Lila laughed, shaking her head. Brenda says you could be getting it from your housekeeper if you try. She likes you and thinks Eva might be the one for you. Whatever, Lila, I said, brushing it off. I'm just glad you found someone. She grinned, then added, Oh, and by the way, that raise I promised you, it starts next week. Plus, I got promoted, so I'll be sleeping in my own bed every night now. Too late for me, I said. I've moved on. She smiled. The best thing you can do is pull that woman into your bedroom. You'd have all the good things we had early on. Too bad it took 6 years to figure out we weren't meant for each other. Invite me to your wedding, I joked. Only 3 months left until the divorce is final. Feels like forever. Take care, Oliver, she said. You know, you were a better husband to me than I was a wife to you. I'll see you around. As she walked away, I thought about our 6 years together. Surprisingly, I didn't miss her at all. Friday night, I stopped by Miles's bar for my usual tickets and bought a scratch-off. For the first time in ages, I didn't win, even my money back. Has my luck finally run out? I muttered. Miles wandered over, laughing. All downhill from here, Oliver. How much have you won lately? At least $2,000 in the last few months, maybe more, I said. I'll figure it out at tax time. Damn fool, he said. I wouldn't declare it all. I laughed. Oops, forget I said that. Miles smirked. Go home and tell Eva you're losing your streak. While you're at it, when are you going to get in bed with her? She needs it as much as you do. Might as well make it sooner than later. Screw you, Miles, I shot back. That's what Lila said to me earlier. Hey, bring Eva in more often. It's fun ganging up on you. At home, I overheard Eva talking to her mom in the living room. The kids were staying at her parents' house. Oliver is the best thing that's happened to me, Mom, she said. I loved my kid's father, but I think I love Oliver more. Her mother replied, and Eva laughed softly. I can't just slip into bed with him. He'd kick me out the moment he woke up. I decided to surprise her. Walking in, I slid my hands under her arms, startling her. When she spun around, I kissed her deeply. The kids are gone tonight, I whispered. Any ideas for how we can spend the evening? Plenty, Eva replied, pulling off her blouse to reveal a silky undergarment. She paused, searching my face. "Oliver, are you sure? I don't want to be just a fling. I'm not asking for forever, but I don't want to be your plaything either." Then, throwing her hands up, she said, "Oh hell, take me to bed. We'll figure out the rest tomorrow." We didn't make it upstairs right away. The moment overtook us. Later, we ended up in her bed, where I woke the next morning feeling happier than I had in years. In the kitchen, I made coffee. Eva joined me, sinking into a chair. "Me too, please," she said. After a pause, she asked hesitantly, "Do you love me? I know what you said last night, but it's morning now." "I do," I said. "I love you, I love the kids, and I love having you here. I meant every word." She smiled softly. "What time do you need to pick up the kids?" "In a few minutes," she said with a sigh. "Not enough time." "Hey," I said, "we've got the next 50 or 60 years. "Too bad we can't sleep together tonight," she teased. "We can," she replied. "Brenda says the kids can stay with her any time. Do you mind?" she asked. "Not at all. It'll stop Brenda from nagging me to make love to you." Eva laughed. "By the way, I'm getting a raise starting Monday." "That's great," I said. "But we're doing fine already. You and the kids haven't been a burden." "Not at all," she said. "In fact, I'm better off than when Lila left. And there's more. I'll only be traveling for work about once a month now." Eva's smile glowed as she looked at me, her love radiating through the room. "The kids will be so happy," she said. "They love having you home every night. Honestly, I can understand why Lila struggled with you being away so much. I hate it when you're gone. The house feels empty." She paused, then added, "I don't think we should tell the kids we're sleeping together yet, but they'll see how happy I am. That'll make them happy too." "Do you want me to pick them up this morning?" I asked. "No, I'll go," she replied. "I want to tell Mom about last night." "Are you sure that's a good idea?" I asked, raising an eyebrow. "Absolutely," she replied with a confident smile. As she left, I poured another coffee and turned on the TV. A news report caught my eye. Miles's bar sold one of the 2 winning tickets for the $3.2 million state lottery. The winners would each get $1.6 million. My heart skipped a beat. "Oh, crap," I muttered. Miles knew my numbers. Would he keep quiet? Probably, at least until I talked to him. Should I tell Eva? Not yet, especially since I hadn't even mentioned the $25,000 scratch ticket still sitting in my bank. I dumped my coffee, grabbed a beer, and was on my third by the time Eva and the kids returned. She eyed me suspiciously. "You never drink in the morning. What's going on?" "Just celebrating," I said. "Who's hungry? I'll make cheese omelets." "Sit down, Oliver," she said with a laugh. "You can scramble the eggs." For some reason, that struck me as hilarious, and I burst out laughing. The kids stared in confusion as I tried to explain, but my words turned to babble. Eva joined in the laughter. The mood stayed lighthearted for the rest of the day. That evening, I announced, "I'm heading to Miles's for a scratch ticket. I promise, no beer." Eva grinned. "Have a beer. Celebrate last night and this morning. Just come home early. Maybe I'll let you hold my hand." She had no idea what else I was celebrating. At Miles's, the bar was packed. When he saw me, Miles grinned. "Oliver, you've put my place on the map. This is the biggest payout the city's ever had, and I sold one of the tickets. Everyone's talking about it." "Do you have to tell anyone who won?" I asked quietly. "I don't want to claim it until after the first of the year, for tax reasons." "No worries," Miles said. "I get a bonus for selling it, so I'm happy to keep quiet. But people are going to speculate." "Does Eva know?" "No, and don't tell her," I said. "I want to court her properly. Money shouldn't factor into it." Miles smirked. "Hell, Oliver, you don't have to court her. Take her to bed. That's all she needs." He studied me, then grinned. "Son of a witch. You already have, haven't you? Congrats, you two are perfect for each other." I scratched the ticket. $2. Feeling smug, I went home without beer on my breath. Life settled into a happy routine. The kids went to school, Eva's freelance work picked up, and my job gave me more responsibility. I was home almost every night, and we were all better for it. On my 20th birthday, Lila dropped by to introduce her boyfriend, Thomas Davis. He worked in construction, hardly the kind of job I thought would appeal to someone like Lila, but the way they looked at each other made it clear they were smitten. During the party, whispers began circulating that Eva and I had become more than friends. I had a strong hunch Eva's mother was the one who spread the news. When Lila was leaving, she paused and said, "Your housekeeper's kids are delightful. Honestly, I wouldn't have imagined you and Eva as a couple, but you both seem content." Is this serious? It is, I replied. Living in the city and coming home every night brought us closer. We both get why you left, and I'm genuinely happy for you and Thomas. She smiled and teased, All right, that secures you an invite to our wedding. Everything was going well until a work trip stirred up unexpected trouble. My secretary, Vivian, a strikingly attractive young woman, had to come along. In the chaos of preparing, I asked her to swing by my place to grab my luggage. That one errand set off Eva's jealousy, though I didn't realize the extent of it until I returned 2 days later. Eva's frosty demeanor and sharp tone made it obvious something was wrong. Later that night, when the kids were asleep, I knocked softly on her door. What do you need? She asked, her voice cold. I need you, I said simply. You're upset. I've been gone for 2 days and I missed you. Then kiss me and leave me alone, she snapped. I'm tired. Eva, I said, exasperated. I love you. Tell me what's bothering you so I can make it right. You think I wouldn't care that you went off with a young, gorgeous woman who practically oozes flirtation? She shot back. Wait, I interrupted, startled. Where's this coming from? She told me you two had connecting rooms, she said bitterly. Yes, we did, I admitted. But remember when you went out with your boss and I jumped to all the wrong conclusions? This is no different. I get how you feel, unsure and hurt, but it's not what you think. I reached for her hand, guiding her toward my room. Slowly I began undressing, letting my actions speak louder than words. Eva stood still for a moment, then hesitantly allowed me to help her out of her clothes. Oliver, she said quietly, don't lie to me, please. I wouldn't, I assured her, but let me tell you something about Vivian. She flirts a lot, and there's a very specific reason why. Her brow furrowed. What are you saying? I should have been more concerned about her meeting you than the other way around, I said with a smirk. It took her a moment to catch my meaning. You're serious? She asked, her expression shifting. Completely, I replied. When we first started working together, Vivian confided in me. She's attracted to women. She even asked if I'd have an issue with it. I told her I didn't, as long as she stayed professional. To keep things simple, she plays the part of a flirt with men to deflect attention from the women she's actually interested in. I hesitated before adding, I've even met her girlfriend Sophie, who's as stunning as Vivian. Sophie works in another department. To my knowledge, I'm the only one who knows about them. Yes, we shared connecting rooms, but only so I could work at night after our meetings. Ava's tension eased, though a shadow of doubt lingered. You were worried about me and Vivian? Not even a little, I said. I trust you completely. As for Vivian, well, let's say I trust her 95% of the time. She'll probably joke at our wedding about how you stole me from her. Eva chuckled softly. I won't let jealousy get the better of me again. The last couple of days were awful. I've never felt that kind of heartache. Smiling, I leaned in. Set your alarm. I plan to spend the night right here. We planned our wedding for the last Saturday in November, a cozy 10 a.m. ceremony at Miles's bar. Miles, ever generous, let us use the space for the reception until 4 p.m. Brenda was matron of honor, with Tinkerbell and Pearl as her attendants. Miles stood beside me as my best man, joined by Logan and Simon. The celebration was intimate, but full of warmth. My family was small, and Eva's parents were her only relatives, but the love in the room made up for it. Eva invited a few colleagues from the magazine, including her boss and his wife, who found it hilarious that I'd once been jealous of him. Brenda and Jim brought their kids and couldn't have been happier to be included, which only strengthened our bond with them. Lila RSVP'd with a note that she and Thomas Davis, now her husband, would attend. She signed it, Mrs. Thomas Davis, casually revealing they'd tied the knot at City Hall 2 days earlier. So much for that wedding invite she promised us. The most memorable discovery Eva and I made together was our mutual love for the polka. After some practice, we found that dancing wasn't just fun. It became a shared passion that brought us closer. At the reception, Vivian and her girlfriend Sophie were indulging in drinks, with Vivian as playfully flirtatious as always. She intercepted me on my way back from the restroom. Oliver, she said with a mischievous grin, dance with me. I need your advice. The band had started playing a waltz by the time we reached the floor. Vivian, tipsy and unsteady, leaned heavily on me as we moved. What's on your mind, Vivian? I asked. Sophie thinks it's time for me to come out, she blurted. She wants me to make it public. Would it ruin your wedding if I used a toast to make the announcement? Not at all, I assured her. But you realize once it's out there, there's no taking it back. I know, she said with determination. We're heading to Massachusetts over New Year's to get married, so people might as well know now. Then grab Sophie and meet me at the head table, I told her. I clinked a knife against my glass to get everyone's attention and stood between Vivian and Sophie. Ladies and gentlemen, I began, I have a special announcement. As many of you know, Vivian has long been the heartbreaker of our office, the one everyone secretly hopes to win over. Well, she's finally chosen her partner, which means the rest of us can give up our fantasies. Today, I'm thrilled to share that she's officially engaged. I stepped back and added, Vivian, care to show everyone who you love? The room fell silent as Vivian leaned in and kissed Sophie. After a beat, applause erupted, though someone muttered, "What a waste." The sentiment was drowned out by the cheers that followed. Grinning, I said, "Congratulations. Now how about a hug?" Vivian hugged me tightly, standing on her toes to kiss my cheek while Ava joined in, embracing Vivian as I turned to congratulate Sophie. Soon, a line of well-wishers formed, showering the couple with warm words and laughter. Later that evening, after a few more dances, I turned to Eva and said, "Time to wrap this up. We've got 6 whole days of honeymoon ahead." Before we left, Lila approached Ava, the two sharing a warm exchange. Then Lila turned to me. "One last dance, ex-husband?" she asked with a playful smile. "Why not?" I said, taking her hand. As we danced, Lila said, "I've been meaning to tell you. Leaving you was the right choice for both of us. You seem genuinely happy, and so am I. But when I first met Ava, I felt sorry for you. I thought she wasn't much to look at. Now I see how wrong I was. She's radiant, and Ryan says she's a better dancer than I ever was." As one ex to another, she added, "Don't ask me why, but I think she's perfect for you." "Thanks, Lila," I replied. "I wish you the best." "Friends?" she asked. "Always," I said. Before leaving Miles's, I picked up a scratch ticket at the counter. It won me $5, a fitting end to the day. Married life with Eva turned out to be far better than anything I'd experienced with Lila. Eva treated me with a respect I hadn't known before, and we found joy in building a life together. When Vivian and Sophie returned from their wedding, they radiated happiness, as newlyweds do. The office missed Vivian's usual antics, but everyone was genuinely happy for her. However, Vivian struggled a little with the lack of attention she once commanded. She and Sophie spent a lot of time with Eva, which initially made Eva a bit uneasy. "They're just adjusting," I reassured her. "Being open about their relationship is new for them, and they're leaning on us for support. Once they settle in, things will change." Ava seemed relieved and nodded. One evening, I decided to share a long-kept secret. Sitting beside Ava on the couch, I took her hand. "Ava," I began, "you've been managing our finances since we got married. How much do you think we're worth? I've been thinking about adding a few rooms to the house." She gave me a curious look and retrieved her accounting journal. "We started the year with this," she said, pointing to a column. "By February, it was this, and if my projections are right, we'll end the year here." I leaned back and smiled. "Add $80,000 to that," I said casually. She blinked, her brow furrowing in confusion. "What are you talking about?" "Remember when Miles sold a lottery ticket that no one claimed?" I asked. "I have that ticket. It's in the bank, and tomorrow we're cashing it in." Her jaw dropped. "Are you serious? Why didn't you tell me?" "I didn't want to complicate things," I explained. "When I won, I was still getting over Lila and trying to figure things out with you. I also didn't want Lila thinking she had a claim on it since our divorce wasn't finalized at the time." "How much is it worth?" she asked, her eyes widening. $80,000 a year for 20 years, minus taxes," I said calmly. She let out a whistle. "What will we do with all that money? Will it change us?" "Not me," I said. "I love my work and the life we've built." "Same here," she said with a grin. "But I won't lie, I'm excited." "Get ready for attention," I warned. "Your picture in the paper, reporters, charities, even distant relatives." She laughed. "No wonder you kept quiet. Winning must have given you courage that night. You came home and couldn't keep your hands off me." I chuckled. It might have helped. A month later, the excitement faded, and life returned to normal. Still, I kept buying scratch-offs and Powerball tickets. "Why bother?" Eva teased one evening. "Lightning doesn't strike twice. Buy a whole roll if you're going to keep playing." "Scratch tickets almost pay for themselves," I said. "It feels like bad luck to stop." Life was good, the house was cozy, and we loved our neighborhood. Monthly gatherings with friends and family became a tradition. Even Lila occasionally visited, maintaining friendly ties. Then Brenda shared news. Lila and Thomas were expecting, but Thomas had been injured in a fall and couldn't work. The neighborhood organized a baby shower to support them, including scratch tickets as gifts. That sparked something in me. I remembered the $25,000 winning ticket I had stashed away, uncashed since before I met Ava. That evening, I decided to bring it up. "Ava, there's something I need to tell you," I said, hesitating for a moment. "It's about money. And Lila." Her curiosity was piqued. "Go on." "The night Lila asked for a divorce, I bought a scratch ticket," I explained. "It won $25,000, but I never cashed it. It expires in 2 months." Eva tilted her head, considering. "Do you want Lila to know it's from you?" "Not at all," I said. "That's why I'm giving it to you. You decide." She smiled warmly. "Go get it. And grab 5 fresh tickets from Miles. I'll include them all in an envelope for the shower. Lila will never suspect." The baby shower was a success. That evening, Ava returned glowing. "Lila cried," she said. "At first, she didn't understand the scratched ticket, but when we cashed them at Miles's, the total was $27,304. It'll hold them over until Thomas can work again. No one suspects you gave her the big one." Her eyes sparkled. "I have my own news. I hope it makes you as happy as it's made me." "What is it?" She smiled softly. "I took a pregnancy test this morning. It's positive." Joy washed over me. I hugged her tightly, overwhelmed. Later, as we stepped out of the shower, she added casually, "Oh, Miles said to check the Powerball numbers tonight. Apparently it's a $275 million jackpot. Where's your ticket?"